Hi guys, I own over 20 credit cards, yet I owe zero debts. As someone who grew up with limited finances and couldn't even qualify for a credit card, I still found ways to travel and stay debt-free since I was a student. Meanwhile, the Straits Times report that credit card debts in Singapore keep going up, and it is at a high of $7.9 billion. In this video, I'm going to share how I went from zero cards to over 20 cards while owing zero debts. What are my strategies and how do I manage my cards? I'm not flexing, okay? I naturally progressed to many cards over time, and owning many credit cards doesn't make me any better than anybody else. But I think if we can manage one credit card, we can manage many credit cards. More importantly, I'll show you the simple ways that I manage them without piling up debt and the way that I think, plus the mistakes that I've made so that you don't have to. And no matter where you are on your credit card journey, even if you are a student or a complete beginner, hopefully my journey will show you that if someone like me who can't even qualify for a credit card, who had very limited finances can do it, so can you. And it's not about how many cards you own, but how you manage the cards to work for you. This is Audz, your lobangs sis. If you want time-sensitive deals and real-time updates on all things personal finance, feel free to join my Telegram group where I post all my lobangs there. Hit the subscribe and like button and let's dive in. Growing up, we never had much. In fact, I think we were middle to low income. My friends could go on exchanges or travel while my family could only afford to go to Malaysia to stay in our relative's house. The first time that I got on a plane was when my dad won flight tickets to Hong Kong at his company D&D. So you can imagine how tight money was. We were barely making ends meet when I was a student. Deep inside of me, I had this desire to want to see the world. So after my dad's passing, I began to think about how I could travel without spending actual money on flights. That was when I stumbled upon credit cards. However, I had a very big problem. I could not even qualify for a credit card because I was still a student. So while between university and JC, I worked many temp jobs with banks like road shows, call centers, telemarketers, and that's how I learned the ins and outs of credit card and even learning how to manage finances. Through my work experience, I discovered the beauty of secured credit card, which involves a deposit. Our first ever secured credit card was the Citi Premier Miles secured credit card. The biggest value for getting the card is that the miles never expired. So even if our household spending was small, I knew that we could eventually accumulate enough for flights without worrying about our miles expiring. I only managed to redeem the miles that we earned almost 8 years after we started our miles accumulation journey. That's how little we spent. To me, the miles were so precious that I could not even bear to use it for business class flight for ages, even though I know that you could get better value out of it. I just wanted to travel more instead of travel well. It was only until about last year, 15 years after I started my credit card journey, can I even bear to part with my miles for a business class flight. One thing that I'm really proud of is that last year I managed to redeem miles to bring my mom on a business class flight to New Zealand. For me, that alone made all the planning, discipline, and saving up worth it. My mom isn't getting any younger, and while she's able to walk, I want to bring her on as many travels as possible to do the things that she never did when she was bringing me up. I think this is something worth using my miles for. When you are on a credit card miles accumulation journey, I feel that patience is key. You want to carefully save your miles for a meaningful experience, and so you should stick to your own long-term credit card goals rather than blowing your points on smaller rewards. The way we set up the secured credit card was that my mom was the primary card holder and I was the supplementary card holder. We used gyro to avoid any missed payments. Of course, I always paid her back for what I spent, but the whole point of this strategy is so that we would accumulate miles through one account. This continued even after I started working because our combined expenses were relatively low, so it didn't really make sense to have another card since I've already started accumulating miles on the Citi Premier Miles secured credit card. If you don't really have high spending and willing to combine your expenses, you can actually use this strategy in the initial stage of your miles accumulation journey to combine your efforts and accumulate miles faster. Subsequently, I got my first credit card after about 3 to 5 years of working when I started to do a sales job, and I needed a better credit card for petrol discounts, but also my business expenses had increased. By late 2023, my TikTok content also took off and I needed more cards to pay for things like project management tools, and so that was the reason for me getting those cards. It's never about collecting them like Pokemon cards, just growing as my needs change. Some cards are for regular use, which I have shared in my previous video, while while other cards are for specific one-off purchases at specific times. So I don't really prioritize or focus on them. And there's also another category. There are cards where I sign up specifically for the sign-up bonuses. Sometimes the sign-up bonuses are irresistible. And I share these on my Telegram channel, so feel free to join it if you want. But the same way that I manage one card would be the same way that I manage 10 cards. I think one of the keys to avoiding any debt, despite having multiple cards, is that realistically my brain can't handle so many cards. And therefore, I have made it so easy by automating the process. This is something that not many people do. Some of the objections that I've heard is that I want to be able to see my credit card bill to make sure that I don't have any fraudulent transactions or that other merchants are not charging me something that I did not buy. To that I say you can pay your credit card bill first, then easily dispute the transaction with the bank. One thing that I've shared on my Telegram channel and TikTok channel is that there are some banks that allow you to easily dispute the transaction on the app itself. You don't even need to speak to a customer service officer. What happens after you dispute the transaction is that the bank will actually give you back the money and you will see a positive amount in your card statement. Some people say, but how do I take out the money? For that, you can easily call the bank to have them refund you the money to your bank account. This way, you are protected from the downside risk of not paying your bills, and when you get 1% cash back on your gyro payments, it is a no-brainer that you should definitely do this. It is an opportunity cost if you do not use this method. I will link the video here so that you can watch it. The other thing is some people are willing to pay for annual fees on credit cards, and some people don't even know that they can get fee waivers on their annual fee payment or their late payments. These are things that you want to avoid. And if I were to be really honest, I would say we should be relentless about not paying annual fees or late payment fees on our credit cards. Something I learned during my work in banks is that if you are a generally good payer and your credit card payment record is good, you should have no problems getting an annual fee waived or even late payment fee waived once in a while. If not, you can simply call the bank and tell them that you want to cancel the card. Usually, they want you to hold the card more than anything else in the world. You want to use this as your trump card to get the fee waived. And you also must be willing to cancel the card if they are unwilling to waive the fee. Have I been successful with this approach? 99% of the time, yes. However, some of my viewers and friends have feedback to me that there are some credit cards that don't allow you to get a fee waiver despite you having spent on the card. One of the ones that I know is the Standard Chartered Simply Cash. So do whatever you will with this information. Now let's talk about late payment fee waivers. In fact, last December I made a lot of mistakes by missing a few credit card payment deadlines for a few new credit cards that I had applied for, but I was traveling so I didn't have time to set up gyro for it. In the end, I incurred some late payment fees and daily interest, totaling up to about 500 across different cards. But did I pay for any of the late payment fees or interest charges? Nope. Of course, I got a fee waiver for all of them successfully. You must be relentless. However, you want to take note that you should make the fee waiver request and interest finance charges waiver request separately. And you can usually do that on the app. But in the event that you have to call in, please go and call in. Cease. Has your fee waiver request ever been denied or rejected? Oh yes, once. That was with DBS. I kind of forgot to pay and I thought that I had set up gyro already. And so I used the DBS chatbot to request for a late payment fee waiver. But I got rejected and then I did it again and I got rejected again. But I did not give up. So I sent them a message through the secured mailbox, which you can access in the desktop version of your iBanking. If you use the secured mailbox to contact the banks, they basically have already verified you as a customer. So you don't have to go through that whole verification process and you can get very direct answers very quickly using that function. Because the mailbox are managed by actual people, so they eventually approved the waiver. Moral of the story be like, sis, don't give up, especially when you keep a good payment track record. Finally, the way that I treat credit cards from when I was a student until now is that I see it as a debit card. If I don't have money in a bank, I don't spend it. But it does require a lot of discipline. And if you are a student right now, you should start practicing managing your budget so that when you have credit cards, you are able to wield them like a sword. If you are someone who's just starting with credit cards, here are 3 simple steps that can help you keep it stress-free. Firstly, you want to set a clear goal. Figure out if you want cashback or miles. Some people want luxury travel while others want cash in their pocket. If you are confused, you can always join my Telegram group where I consolidate a list of best cards for different types of spending, and the idea is that you want to find a card that can cover up to 80% of your spending while aligning with your ultimate goal. Number 2, you want to choose 1 to 2 cards that match your spending and you are able to track your usage. When I first started, I had lofty goals of how I thought I would use the cards, but I realized that in practical sometimes it's really different. Some people will realize that after using a few cards, they really just want 1 card, and that is completely fine. While others like me who have time and the brain space and find it fun to game the system, we love to manage multiple cards. It's okay to cancel a card if it doesn't work for you. But one of the things that you want to take note is that if you have applied for a credit card with an amazing sign-up bonus, usually they have a minimum holding period for the card. From experience, minimally you should hold between 6 to 12 months. And what you can do is you can just block the card after you have achieved the qualifying spend for that sign-up promo. You don't want to cancel the card first because the banks may actually claw back the rewards from you. Let me know if you have any questions on that. And if you have watched this video so far, please help sis out and click the subscribe button. And with that, I will give you a heart. So that's how I went from 0 cards to over 20 cards without ever piling up debt. Remember, it's not about how many cards you have, but how you manage it. Always pay in full, ask for waiver, and never spend more than you have. If you have found this useful, like the video, subscribe for more personal finance tips, and share with a friend who is nervous about credit cards. I hope this helps. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, thanks. Bye!